Welcome to the Mega Print on Demand Summit. I am Melissa Reynolds, one of your hosts. This is day 3 of the summit, and we will be discussing how to scale and grow your business. So, are you ready to learn some more about print on demand? I sure am, so let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to day 3 of the Mega Print on Demand Summit. My name is Kyle Hamar, and in this presentation, we're going to talk about scaling your business. Now, I'm really excited to be one of the speakers for this summit. Thanks to Melissa to putting on such a great event, and I'm hopefully you've gotten a ton of value. Some amazing speakers over the last few days that have presented just great material. And so hopefully you're processing that all and implementing it into your business so that you can take a really advantage of scaling up your business. Now, because some of you might be just starting out and you're trying to figure out just the nuts and bolts of how to sell print on demand and set up your Shopify store or sell on Amazon or Etsy or whatever platform that you're on. But the principles of scaling your business are what's important. And no matter what size you are, incorporating the right principles early on and developing those habits will set you up for success in the long run. So that's what we want to talk about today. And who am I? Well, I'm a digital marketer, and I've spent the last 10 years doing email marketing and paid traffic and lead gen, and then got into e-commerce a few years ago, about 5 years ago now. And I'm a 7-figure Amazon seller. I have 2 brands, and we sell worldwide in Amazon in Europe and Japan and in .com. I'm also an e-commerce business coach with my business partner, Jason Miles. Some of you might be familiar with Jason. He's was work on Shopify and also some of the books on social media marketing that he's written. So it's really cool. I'm honored to partner with him, and we help e-commerce businesses scale. And that's what we work on every day with our coaching clients and with our students. I have over 17,000 students on Udemy. We teach a whole bunch of different courses on e-commerce and blogging and channel strategy and SEO and all that fun stuff. And then I'm also an adjunct professor of online marketing at Northwest University. So I teach undergraduates, and sometimes I'll teach a master. I'll sub in for a master's class. I've also done some guest lecturing at the University of Washington because I live just a few minutes east of Seattle, Washington, and with my wife and daughter, who are my whys. And that's the reason why you decide to scale a business, to give you the lifestyle choice where and when you want to live and work. And so that's what I wake up every morning excited to do what we do and to do it for them. I'm originally from Astoria, Oregon, which is on the Oregon coast, on the west coast here in Oregon, and it's where they filmed the movie Goonies. That's what we're sort of famous for, our claim to fame, and also Free Willy as well. So some of those movies that are filmed there, it's kind of cool. My background's in IT, so I used to build servers and install that for people and do tech to engineering for different businesses before I got into marketing, which is now my true passion. Fun, weird fact, I played the trombone in grade school, but that was about as far as I took the trombone, so don't get any, don't make no requests for any jazz music or anything like that. It sounds pretty terrible. I picked it up not too long ago, and it was quite terrible. Luckily for that, we're not talking about trombones. We are talking about e-commerce. So this is the flywheel that Jason and I usually walk our clients through when we do coaching. So all of these different areas, buckets, build on each other to get you to the ability to scale and the success that you want to achieve. So today, we're going to focus primarily on a couple of these buckets. We're going to talk a little bit about advertising, and we're going to talk about growth, and that's the scaling part. And so that's what we're going to cover today, and I'm really excited. But each of these all connected together. So, I mean, we're talking about sort of the back end of it, but getting your branding, and your product strategy, and pricing, and where you're going to sell it, and how your brand presentation, all of that all matters, and it all builds together to get you where you want to go. So there's 3 areas we're going to talk today about, 3 areas of mastery that you want to start to develop in your business. Your people and your process, stacking your S-curves, and your marketing. So those are the 3 topics. And first, there's a concept that I heard Dean Jackson talk about. He's an author and marketer. And he was flying from, I think, to LA, and read a Forbes magazine article. And in that article, it was covering the top 100 entertainers of the day. People get paid the most amount of money in the entertainment industry. And one of them that he noticed was Siegfried and Roy. They're very popular magicians in Vegas, and they had a show that ran for 13 years, generated billions of dollars in sales. We're doing like 8 shows a week. I mean, they were crushing it, making 35 million a year. By all appearances, they were a very successful business. He also read in that article about another group, and that was the Blue Man Group. You've probably seen them. They've been on commercials, and they're all over the place now. And they started out as a performance art group, 3 guys on stage, doing shows. They're doing about 100 million a year, so they're a little bit bigger in scope than Siegfried and Roy. And then in 2017, they actually sold to Cirque du Soleil. Well, unfortunately for Siegfried and Roy, in 2003, Roy was actually attacked by one of the tigers in their show, and that duo never performed again. Now, if you contrast that, the Blue Man Group, although they use 3 performers per show, each show that they do in the different cities around the world have 7 to 9 cast members. So if one is sick or one's on vacation, someone else can step into it and go ahead and take over. And the difference between these two businesses becomes pretty clear. The Blue Man Group built a business that wasn't dependent on the founders. It wasn't dependent upon you as the business owner, but they developed a system that allowed them to bring in and train anybody so that they could scale to multiple cities and have tours and plug anyone else into their business that ultimately allowed it to sell to Cirque du Soleil. So the real question is your business tiger proof? That one unfortunate incident, that one tiger, really derailed that whole business. And it's sad and it's unfortunate, but we've kind of built our businesses in the same way. And maybe you're not worried about a catastrophic event that takes you out of your game, no longer allows you to be in business. But what about just building a business that allows you to go on vacation? If you stopped working for a month in your business, would it continue to produce money and revenue and income for your life? And so when we talk about tiger proofing your business, it's not so much that you're worried about the catastrophic event, like that would be in Roy's case, they're no longer in business, but just the ability to step away from the business. Like the 3 original founders of the Blue Man Group, they don't even perform anymore, but nobody really knows that. They're basically just in business or retired, and the Blue Man Group continues to generate hundreds of millions of dollars a year in revenue. So if you want to build your business with the long-term thinking, it requires you to really think about people and process. And that's scaling principle number 1. In order to get what you want, where you want to go, you have to be always thinking about the people and the processes that are going to be required to get there. So Vern Harnish, we're going to reference him a little bit throughout this presentation. He's got a great book called Scaling Up, and he says, the right people doing the right things right. That's the people and that's process. So first and foremost, finding the right team. And, there's been speakers who are talking about VAs and different ways to go about that. And that's absolutely the case. You have to find the right people, the right team members. But ultimately, building and finding the right people starts with you. You have to grow your leadership. If you want to continue to scale and grow, you have to start by growing you. Peter Drucker is famous for saying that the bottleneck is at the top of the bottle. The bottleneck in any business and organization is always going to be at the top. It's always going to start with you. It reminded me of John Maxwell's law of the lid. And that states that your leadership ability is the lid that really determines your personal and organizational effectiveness. And it will set the limit on the potential of your business and organization. And for better or for worse, it's always going to sort of impact your organization and where you want to head in life and in your goals and dreams and in your business. So it starts with you. Number 2, you want to find the right people, but you also want to hire for outcome and not a task. And what I mean by that is you need to connect your people, your VAs, your contractors, your employees, to processes with KPIs. If you're not familiar with that term, a KPI is just a key performance indicator. It's some measurable, trackable number that's associated to a task or an outcome in your business. And the goal is that you want your people, your team, to actually own outcomes. And so here's some example of how you can sort of work through this process. So this is a free download that you can get from scalingup.com. It's that website from Vern Harnish who I mentioned earlier, and you can download this really cool little worksheet. But what it lets you do is sort of define the functions in your business. So as you're scaling, there's going to be specific functions in your business, and you need to list those out, whether that be marketing, or your operations, or your human resources, HR, your finances, whatever that's going to look like. Your customer service people, whoever's that, you need to list out those functions and then assign a person who's accountable for that. Now, at the beginning, as you begin to scale, you're accountable for everything. If you're just getting started and you're trying to grow the business, your name's going to be in all of these different slots. But as you grow over time, is you want to be able to assign other people, have other people be accountable for those specific functions. And then you're also attaching those key performance indicators, the leading indicators for these different roles. So for example, in your treasury, in your finance, maybe one of those roles is, or those KPIs is, you want to have a net profit margin of 25% or 30% in your business, or you want to have a margin that's X percentage, and that becomes an indicator of success. In your marketing department, maybe the KPI for that is that you're generating, you know, you know, $30,000 a month in revenue from your marketing, and you want to have a return on your ad spend of 3 times. So for every dollar in ad spend you put in, you want to make $3 in revenue. So those are different leading indicators, key performance indicators you can set, and then you want to attach those to your to an outcome. So, for example, if in the treasury, in the finance section, you have a KPI of margin, that's going to directly tie to an outcome of profit on your P&L. So you can kind of look at your business, your profit and loss statement, and all the different things you have associated with that. You want to attach an outcome that will also have a leading indicator set to work. Now, leading indicators and lagging indicators are a little bit. Well, let me jump into it a little bit. So a leading indicator is something that you do that will produce a result. And a lagging indicator is sort of the result, tracking that result. So what I mean by that is like this. Say, for example, you are going to say you're doing lead gen. It's not really as important in the e-commerce space, but let's use this as an example. Say your goal is to generate $10,000 in revenue. That's cool. And you need to get a certain number of leads to do that. So a lagging indicator will be the revenue number, say the $10,000 a month. The leading indicator might be how many people did you talk to. So did you do 100 outreach calls for that month, knowing that the 100 will translate into the $10,000 in revenue, understanding how the funnel process works. So the leading indicator is how much are they actually doing on the front end that you can measure, that will produce the lagging indicator, which is the $10,000 in revenue. So hopefully that makes a little bit sense. But what you do is you end up looking at this chart and assigning a person to each category in your business, and then assigning also sort of the key performance indicators for that department, and then attaching it to a P&L or an outcome as well. And so then also what's important is when you think about process, you identified the people that you need, sort of the growth, the depth chart of your business, right? The employee flow chart and growth organizational chart. You also want to assign some processes. Now you want to identify 4 to 9 different processes that drive your business. And those could be your marketing, they could be your content development, they could be your creative. So if you're in print on demand, they could be your market research, so knowing which niches to launch into, what trends are occurring. All of those are important processes. Into your accounts receivable and payable, your customer service. All of those are different processes that drive your business. You need to list those out. And then someone needs to be assigned to those for specific accountability for each process. And then again, you want to list a key performance indicator to that process, and always be thinking about incremental improvements on those KPIs. So can I do this better? Can I do this faster? Can I provide more value? Can I do this more cost effectively? Can we automate? So each person's sort of thinking of ways to make slight improvements every single day and every single month to your process to make the company just better. So again, we have a function chart where you're listing who's responsible for what, and then you can develop a process chart where who's responsible for the processes in your business. So you hire for an outcome, not a task. The third point for finding the right people and getting the right team is you want to hire the right people. And these people are people who fit your culture. So you get to decide as the business owner who your culture and what your culture is. If you're going to be fun-loving, it has to be built on your personality. But it's important that you define that because you don't want to. It'll be unpleasant for you to end up working with somebody long-term if they're not a good fit with you personally and the culture of the business you're trying to create. So you want to understand that at the beginning. Number two, they don't need to be micromanaged. They will take ownership. That's really, really important. Is that you find the people who are going to take ownership. We go back to that process and the accountability charts that we looked at. They are the people that are plugged into that, but they actually are owning those processes, and they're coming up with ways to make it better and more effective. And that they do constantly wow you with their insights and their output. Like those are the people. Now these could be VAs. They could eventually be employees. It doesn't matter sort of how you're paying them, whether it's a salary or as a contractor. But the point is that they have a good fit with you. They don't need to be micromanaged. You don't have to you don't have to tell them every single little step to do. That they're taking ownership and they're figuring it out and just wowing you with the output. So that leads us to scaling principle number 2. And that is what we call stacking S-curves. Vince Lombardi's famous saying that hope is not a strategy. And it's so true. Like you just don't want to get to a point in your business where you're just relying on hoping for something. You want to have a plan of action. And understanding S-curves and why they matter is important. Now, if you're new, you may be like, well, what is an S-curve? How does this, what is he talking about? But every company, regardless of your business model, is going to go through pretty highly predictable cycles of growth and maturity. And they're called the S-curves. And you'll see why in a second. But basically, if you strip it down to its most basic level, it's a mathematical model, like a logistics curve. It describes a variable. And it looks kind of like this. But luckily for you, you don't have to be a math genius to sort of figure it out because you can it'll chart. And the chart looks something like this. It looks like an S a little bit. And you'll start to see growth and it'll start to taper off the top. Now, this is what it looks like. But when you're in your business and you begin to feel the effects of this, it actually feels like this, right? It feels like at the beginning, you're like, I have no momentum. It feels like everything's a slog. And then you hit what's called an inflection point. And if it's at the beginning of an S curve, the inflection point's kind of going up. You start getting momentum. And you're pretty pumped and you're feeling like, man, nothing can stop you. And then you get to another inflection point at the top. And it feels like, the world is crashing. Your growth is not happening like you want. You're getting frustrated with that. And this is the S curve of growth in business. And all businesses are faced with this at some point in their journey. And that's that tapering point at the top that can be really disturbing. And revenue suddenly and unexpectedly leveling out and plateauing. And this is where you can make these knee-jerk responses that result in bad decision making. But it's important for you to recognize what they are. And that they are an inflection point, and it's a strategic inflection point. Meaning you have some choices to make, and the choices you do make sort of impact where that curve begins to direction begins to take. If you think about it, we've been in the middle of this the COVID-19 when this was recorded. We're kind of coming towards the out of it, hopefully. I mean, everyone's talking about flattening the curve. Well, in your business, in your growth, the curve will start to flatten at the top, and this is where you get to these inflection points where you have to make some decisions about how you continue to grow and scale. So what exactly causes these inflection points? Now, they could be external or they could be internal. I mean, it could be a competitor released a better product than you at a lower price point. Maybe a competitor stole one of your print-on-demand designs and is marketing as well. And so that's creating competition. Maybe your core product is seasonal, or maybe you're based it on a trend. and so there's just a drop in overall interest in that product. Maybe your advertising's not hitting the right audience. That's an internal cause of it. Maybe you don't have the right team members in place, or maybe you don't have enough team members yet, and so you're sort of feeling the limitation of that. Or maybe there's a recession that's on and there's just an external force that you can't control. But regardless of the nature of it, all of these inflection points, these are just a process of growth. And everyone's going to go through them. And they're going to impact your revenue and your momentum. So here's another way to look at this, is that each of these sort of S curves are built in your business. And every business that continues to grow over time interacts with these inflection points. And this is a cool little graphic that I found. And so what's cool is if we zoom in a little bit, at that inflection point, at the top of where the curve begins to flatten, this is where your strategy begins to impact the direction of the growth of your company. Now, if you are willing to adapt and innovate and sort of be creative in your process, then you'll continue to see growth. And we'll talk a little bit about how that will happen here in just a second. If you begin to just chase tactics, you'll see potentially just a flat line. If you're not adapting, but you're just chasing shiny objects and like, well, I'm going to try this, and you sort of are moving away from real strategy that is core to who you are and your business and your brand and what you're building, you'll see flatline. And unfortunately, if you are encountering things that are outside your control and you're just refusing to change, you'll eventually see that your growth begins to stagnate and go down. So an example of this is, this is kind of the classic example for sure, is Blockbuster and Netflix. So in 2004, Blockbuster has employed 60,000 workers, had 9,000 stores. They were the dominant video rental market. And in 2000, actually, they were so confident that they passed an opportunity to buy Netflix, which they thought was just sort of headed for the destruction, recession 2001, 2002 dot-com bubble. They're like, nah, Netflix isn't going to survive that. And so Blockbuster kept doing what they were doing, but that confidence kept them from adapting to their greatest weakness. And what that was they actually, a main source of their income came from penalizing customers. So the practice was they charged late fees, and it was really frustrating, but that was their main revenue source. In fact, Reed Hastings, who started Netflix, he started it partly out of frustration of being fined $40 by Blockbuster by being late with returning Apollo 13, the movie, right? So out of that frustration, he started Netflix to as a response to it. And all of it came to this sort of pivotal strategic inflection point when, as broadband speed increased, made streaming possible. Netflix was aware and sort of able to pivot and innovate quickly. And so they started moving to the streaming platform, and Blockbuster didn't react to Netflix gaining traction until it was well too late. And so Netflix continued to scale because they stacked on it to their DVD rental business, which was a direct competitor with Blockbuster, the digital streaming, which allowed them to go to that next level of innovation and start to stack that S curve. So, I mean, in fact, the CEO of Blockbuster was asked why he didn't chase Netflix with the acquisition, and he said neither Redbox nor Netflix are even on our radar screen in terms of competition. And so they didn't have the vision. They were stuck in sort of going the same route, and that flatlined and eventually led to the decline where now they went into bankruptcy and are no longer in business. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 Blockbuster stores left in the entire country at this point. And Netflix continues to scale. But every business goes through these points of growth and adaptability that they have to hit. So not only do businesses have S curves as a whole, if you look at your whole business, but even products. So one of the ways that you are able to gain sort of that next level of growth in your business is by launching your second and your third product. And hopefully you pick products and niches that allow you to keep stacking growth. And sometimes you're going to miss, but every products follow the same sort of life cycle as your business. They'll start out, they'll get a little bit of momentum, they'll begin to gain traction, and then over time they'll begin to flatline as you sort of maximize the depth of that product. And you're kind of faced with a choice. Do you take your product and go to a different platform, or did you go to adding new designs to a brand new product line? But the goal is that once you reach sort of the flatline limit, you begin to think about how do you use or extend the life of that product effectively. Here's an example of that. Maybe you have a winning POD t-shirt design and sales are starting to take off. You hit that first inflection point in your S curve. and you're like, sky's the limit, you're making money, it's cool. But your competition sees your success, creates their own version, and sales start to decline a little bit, or see a drop in it, and so you're at that top of the S curve in terms of the next inflection point. And now you could hopefully have already begun testing another multiple new designs and are ready to scale the next winner. So you can just stack the next winning design on top of your growth, and you continue to see growth occur in your business. Or you could you could try testing that design with different products. So maybe you're sort of expanding to mugs or pillows or blankets, but you begin to take that's working but not working as well as it used to, and you begin to find alternate or creative ways to use that design to continue to generate revenue. And it's that process of stacking these successes over time that allow you to scale your business and keep you relevant. So here's some key takeaways. Thinking about stacking S-curves. All businesses go through these cycles. And at the onset of inflection point, it can be very sudden, or it can be a drawn out process. It might be real quick, like if you have an external, something like a pandemic, it can be all really quick, or it can be a drawn out process. And the response to these can vary in length as well. But sustained momentum is only possible when the business is structured for adapting and innovating. And so you want to be able to adapt and innovate quickly and build into your team and your processes that level of flexibility in what you're doing. And then most importantly, you have to have the right mindset. You don't want to get panicky when you start to see stuff flatline. You understand, recognize it. This is S-curve. This is part of a process. I just need to be thinking to be innovative and creative, and begin to think about what the next step is in your business. And then you're going to continue to see a growth for in your business and what you're doing. And so being aware of these S-curves and how to stack them consistently over time. And sometimes your products are going to miss. That's the nature of the game. But it's developing the consistency. Like we talked about your leading indicators and lagging indicators. A leading indicator would be how many new designs are you testing every single month. And the lagging indicator of that would be your actual revenue number. Like if your goal is to do $10,000 a month in revenue every single month, then maybe you need to be launching 20, 50, 100 designs, 10 designs every single month in order to get that number. And you'll figure out that the exact number in your business over time as you do it. But that's the leading indicator. The leading indicator that you can control is how many designs are you launching, how many designs are you testing, how many new markets are you opening up. And, that's something you're controlling. And then the outcome of that you're measuring the success by is the revenue at the back end. But that's the right mindset. So that's really important. So the next scaling principle is principle number 3, and that's marketing. And I love this quote. And this is, business has only 2 functions, marketing and innovation. And that's true. Like we talked about strategy and S-curves, and it being innovative in that process is really, really important. And so let's talk about some marketing principles. And I don't remember where I heard this quote, but I really liked it. Marketing is finding the right what to be sold to the best whos, and how best to sell it at the right price. So if you're going to break it all down, like that in a nutshell is what you're trying to figure out each and every day. So let's talk about some key principles in marketing in the context of scaling. So number 1, you want to stack your traffic sources. We'll talk about that a little bit more and break that down. Also, number 2, you want to understand your customer buying journey, and then how that journey relates to traffic. So let's talk about traffic sources. So traffic stacking is, this concept comes out of an ebook that Jason, my business partner, wrote called The 9 Mountains of Traffic. And traffic stacking is the practice of cultivating, adding additional sources of traffic to your website or product. Meaning you have your website, you begin to first work on maybe your email marketing, and then you start working on your organic SEO content marketing, and you start working on paid referrals, which are like influencer marketing or partner marketing, and you start to begin stacking these systematically over time to drive more and more traffic to your website. And you're doing this over time. Think about it as a marathon and not a sprint, and you're moving in that way, but you're systematically building these processes in to your business. So why you can stack traffic is there's 9 primary sources online of traffic. There's email marketing, organic search, a term that it's called branded browsing, which just refers a lot to people just knowing who your website is and go and typing it directly into the search bar or into the web browser. Organic social, organic referral, people sharing your content organically. Paid social, so Facebook ads. Paid search, Google ads, Bing. Paid referral, which is often influencer marketing or blogging, and affiliate sort of traffic, and then paid display, which can also be YouTube ads. It can be Google Display Network. There's other display networks as well that you can kind of incorporate, but all of those sort of function as a different sources of traffic. And your goal really is the marketer, the chief marketing officer, if you're starting and you're scaling your business, is to identify which of these to sort of focus in on and hone to get really good and build the processes around for the team and the tactics that you want to implement. And I can tell you from experience that email marketing is definitely going to be something that should be on the top of your list in order to begin to execute on consistently and faithfully over time. And it's usually often the one that we forget about the most, but it is one of the most important ones. Organic search has also becomes an important thing over time, and then any of the organic and paid organic traffic. Typically, the difference between paid traffic and organic traffic is paid traffic will give you the more immediate result what you're trying to do, but it's also going to be the most expensive that you're going to be able to pay for, because it takes time to be able to gain mastery of that and to make sure everything is in order to succeed with paid traffic. Organic traffic will over time produce the greatest overall revenue and ROI from a profitability standpoint, but it takes more time to get to a point of relevance in your business. So start early with organic traffic strategies and just do it consistently over time, and then it'll really quickly pay off, or it'll pay off over time as opposed to the quick payoffs of paid traffic, which paid traffic is great. I love it. I've done a lot of it, and it's still a key component part of your business, but you can't do it with only paid traffic in mind. You need to think organically with your brand for the long term. Because each of these sources provide you different customer acquisition costs, or that CAC. So, for example, a paid search strategy on Google will probably cost you more to acquire a customer through a paid than it would be if you got someone shared your post on Pinterest or Facebook and you got a lead that went to your website and bought from you. Obviously, that paid traffic is going to cost you more than organic traffic. And then also conversion rates are different across the board. So maybe your email marketing, because it'll often be warmer marketing, if they're on your list, they're going to either be a lead or a previous buyer, is going to have a much higher conversion rate than, say, a paid display ad or even a paid search ad. Just that the conversion rate on your store will be dramatically different. So understanding that where and how to prioritize these different areas in your business and marketing allows you to scale your marketing because you're stacking these traffic sources over time. So this is what happens though if you are consistent with it. So this is pixiefair.com, which is Jason's main main Shopify store. And as you can see, in the last 12 months, they've done over 1 million visitors to the store. A lot of that is direct, meaning that the people are familiar with his brand, and he sort of built this brand powerhouse in that niche, that small little niche. And then social, so he gets a lot of traffic from both Facebook and Pinterest. Pinterest drives a lot of traffic for him, and then organic search, and then email marketing as well. And it's important to note too that by focusing, and a lot of his stuff is organic. He focuses a lot on organic traffic. There's not a lot of paid traffic that occurs to generate these sales and these visitors, but that organic traffic buys a lot too, so it's good buying traffic. So this is the result over time, and he's been doing it for 10 years. So as you consistently do this over time, your results stack, and then they begin to make significant traffic to your stores. And so that's the process. So now let's move on to customer buying journey. This is number 2. Your customer goes through a process to buy, and we all do, and it kind of starts with the awareness that you have a problem, right? There's a problem that you want to solve, and so you have to become aware of that problem, and you have to become aware that there's a solution out there for it. So everyone goes through the awareness stage, and then they go to the interest. So now you're interested in a solution. I can think about this. I was looking for a wireless keyboard. I knew I needed a wireless keyboard because I was like, I need to find a better way to be able to sit at my desk or standing. And so there was awareness factor that kicked in for me. And then I showed interest. So I started looking at, okay, so now I'm actually at a point where I want to go and like actively look. In the back of my mind, for a couple of weeks, I'm like, I kind of need to do one that I never did anything with, but I was aware of the problem. Then I sort of moved toward the interest phase where I was like, okay, now I'm going to start looking. And then once I started looking, I started measuring out consideration. Like I'm started considering different types, different brands. What's this compared to this? And then once I get past that consideration, then I'm just start showing intent. Now I'm ready to like, okay, I need to go buy it. I'm ready to go. I found the one I want. I'm going to type in Google. I'm going to find the right store, or whatever that's going to be for that wireless keyboard brand. And then I'm actually going to actually buy it. Pull out the credit card, buy the product. And so that's the buying journey. And your marketing has to reflect that as well. So at the top of the funnel, you're creating awareness through your blogging, through social media, and your content. And then your interest, you want to be able to use your email marketing, potentially your newsletter, generate a lead, to engage with them when they're sort of just they're aware, but they're not ready to buy yet. But you want them to be aware of who you are and your products and services. So then when the consideration comes, that's when they start to do comparison. And oftentimes that if you're not in e-commerce but you're in like software or something like that, you see a free trial, you see case studies that. But for e-commerce people, when you're in consideration, they just might start Googling, looking for a brand, looking for content, looking to for some solution based. Maybe they're on YouTube looking for free or cheap ways to do that, and you can target them that way as well in the consideration phase. And that's when you start to look at buying intent in terms of your keyword traffic. When you're looking for, like, say, Google search, you want to go after, you want to bid higher on on search terms that are showing intent. So then at the next level, people are actually on the product page and they're looking at it, and then maybe they are even in the ad. Maybe they've added it to cart. Showing intent. So how do you market someone who's added to cart, and then finally they buy, and that's when your process starts for retention. And so your traffic strategies reflect that, right? So when you look at someone at the top of the funnel, it's usually considered cold traffic. Cold traffic is they're not familiar with you as a brand, they're not familiar with your product, they don't really know who you are, and so they're sort of at the top of the funnel and they're cold to you. Warm traffic are people that are now familiar with your brand but maybe never bought from you before. Maybe they're on your email list, they're a lead, but they haven't bought from you as of yet. And then you have your hot traffic, which are the ones that are buyers, they're purchasers, and they're the warmest, the hottest. They've spent the most recent amount of money with you, and it's how you treat them. Campaigns as well is important. But understanding the process for your customer journey, and then how that corresponds to traffic, because not all traffic is created equal, and you need to be thinking about how that breaks down. And to scale your marketing effectively means you have to have sort of strategies in place for all of these different levels over time. So here's some key takeaways. You want to pick your traffic sources strategy, and you want to build routines around it. You want to spend at least one day out of the week specifically on marketing. So this is one of the, some people call it a rainmaker day. Some people call it, like their money making day, but you should spend at least a day. And as you scale and you have team members doing this, you're going to spend less of it. Like, you may not spend a day, maybe you'll spend half day, maybe you'll spend a couple hours in a marketing strategy planning session. But there needs to be specific time on your calendar built towards marketing. Maybe it's adding that next level of stacking additional traffic source to your marketing strategy. But that's an important piece. And then you want to lean into what's working. You want to avoid shiny objects. So having your analytics set up, knowing what your data is, being able to have somebody on your team review that data is important, because you need to know what is working. It's those KPIs. It's like what of your marketing effort is moving the needle, and then that way it keeps you on task and focused a little bit easier. And then prioritize long-term thinking over short-term thinking, meaning think about investing in your email marketing, your content marketing, your blogging, your video content creation, all of those things that you can then use for the long term, as opposed to just trying to spend money on ads. Now, ads are great because, again, like I mentioned before, paid traffic allows you to test things to get traffic immediate results. You can test relevancy really, really quickly, but you don't want to leave it there. You want to think long term, because that's going to produce the bigger numbers for you, and really see the results you want to have. And Then understand that you want to understand your customer journey and create your offers and campaigns accordingly. Again, not all traffic is created equal, and so you need to have offers and campaigns that are specifically tied to where your customers are at in the process. So that was the 3 scaling practices: people versus process, understanding your S curves, and stacking those S curves, and then some general principles of marketing in order to scale. Now, I got a bonus for you. Some of you might like, well, it's like, that's cool. This is like really high level, big sort of big picture stuff. What about some practical stuff? So I have some practical. You want some practical Facebook ad hacks? Usually that's what usually happens. Is like, it's cool. I love the strategy. Tell me some stuff that I can start to implement immediately. So here you go. Here's 3 strategies that you can implement right now if you're running any Facebook traffic. 1, don't waste hours trying to figure out the perfect targeting. So why this is important is I know I've spent so many hours like trying to find the right mix between the this audience matched with this audience, matched with this audience. You kind of build out these elaborate sort of targeting plans. You don't need to do that. It's a waste of time. And see, because the problem with cold traffic, which is often what we're trying to look for here, is, and with the targeting specifically, is you don't know who you're looking for. I mean, you have a sense of it, but it's all cold traffic. And the problem with cold traffic is, well, it's cold. It was a very, very wise quote by me. But I mean, seriously, it is cold traffic. And the reason why it's problematic to spend a ton of time going about it and looking for these audiences is the quality of information isn't there yet. So when you're starting any campaign, you don't have a lot of data. You don't, even on your target audience, your avatar, you're not 100% sure yet, and so you're wasting a lot of time. And it's a time vortex. So trying to find the perfect cold audience on Facebook is like looking for a unicorn. And the problem with the unicorn is they don't exist, right? And you just end up wasting a ton of time, and it's just not there in terms of your ROI. Then the other thing that's important to realize is that super targeted traffic, regardless of whether it's cold or warm, is that it's going to cost you more money. So the more defined your audience is. So say you have audience, if you're in, so I'm in the art space. So if I'm like people who like to draw, plus they like 3-5 brands, plus they like this Facebook page that's super popular. If I sort of stack those together as an audience, it's going to raise the CPM, which is the cost per, it's the impression, it's cost per impression, meaning that you get charged for every time 1,000 people see your ad. And that becomes more expensive the more defined you get. So a better way is to use content to measure interest. So how that process works is, instead of running these targeted ads trying to figure out your cold traffic, your audiences and build them, run it broad. Start with a broad audience, like people who like drawing. There's millions and millions and millions and millions and millions around the world. If you have a product that can serve them, it's a broad audience. And then you build your ads that promote content, but call out your audience specifically. So you have to be careful in terms of the niche that you're in terms of how you use the language. So you have to be compliant with your ads. But you can say, do you love to draw? Or here are 10 different ways that you can draw more effectively. So you're talking to people who are actively wanting to learn to draw, or active artists. And you just run it to a broad audience. And then maybe it's going to a piece of content. So you're promoting that content. Maybe it's a blog post that's performing really, really well. So you're building an ad that's going to a blog post. And then what happens is, after they've clicked on it, after they've engaged with it, or maybe it's a video, maybe it's video content too. Maybe after they've either watched the video or they've gone to that blog post, then you retarget them because now they've shown you interest. So you can reach a broad audience. So it means it's cheaper for you to sort of get it in front of them. And then only after they raise their hand and shown interest, do you begin to target them with an offer. So the other thing that you can do with your content is you can model what's working. So think like you're a consumer would, like the content that you like to share on Facebook, the content that you like to share on social media. Think about creating your ads in that way. So you can use like BuzzSumo, for example. I think it's a paid tool. but you can find the most sort of popular content that's being shared on Facebook or Pinterest and all over the internet, and you can look at that most shared. It's measuring by what people are actually sharing organically, and you can look at it and you can model it. So it's a really smart way to sort of find out what's working and figure out if you can create. People love lists, so if it's the top 10 reasons for this or the top fashions for that, or whatever the niche is that you're looking for, you can put it into BuzzSumo and you begin to model it. And then sort of the easy button for content is just leverage other people's content. So leverage other people's third-party content. It doesn't even have to be your own content all the time. You can definitely take advantage of other people's stuff. And one way you can do that ethically is you can use a tool called Sniply, and what it allows you to do is you create this overlay, and it uses like an iframe if you want to get technical, but it's an overlay that you will then create in that tool, and then when you post it on your social media or even run an ad to it, you can send it to an article on a different website that's not even yours. And what it'll do is actually pixel the person that clicks into it. So it'll pixel and drop a little piece of code that will allow you to track and send new ads to them on those articles. But you can also then connect it to where you can build your email list as well, because you can have an email opt-in for that as well. So Sniply is a tool. So you're sending it to a different website that's not even yours. And some websites don't support it, but a good vast majority of them do. And then there's other ways you can retarget them as well. But that's a really cool tool. It's pretty inexpensive to use Sniply. And then another tool that I like to use for video is Lumen 5. So Lumen 5 lets you create a video from any URL in like 5 minutes. So what's crazy, so I Googled how to draw. This isn't my blog content, but what I did is I just dropped the URL into Lumen 5, and it created this ad right here, this video ad. I don't have you can see it in like less than 5 minutes. So it literally uses AI, pulls out all the images and pulls the relevant text and sort of creates this video. And it created this entire video in like under 5 minutes. I think it was 3 minutes. You can like edit it and change it around as well, but it allows you to create content really, really, really quickly. So if you find really good blog content that's relative to your niche, use video here to sort of point people to it. That allows you to sort of leverage that and let people then raise their hand to tell you that they're interested in content that's relative to your product and stuff. So it's really, really cool. You can do that really fast. So Lumen 5 is another tool that you can use to sort of use other people's content more effectively. Number 2, stop selling to cold traffic and wasting money. So we talked about cold traffic a couple of times so far, but one of the ways that we waste time is trying to find the perfect targeting for our cold traffic. But the other thing that we do is then once we think we found it, we try to sell directly to it. So typically, what it looks like that people still do is they are selling. They create this ad. They build out this list of all these different interests that they have, and then they run their ad, and it goes directly to this landing page, right to the product page. You don't want to do that. That's a recipe to waste money. Facebook ads have become so much more competitive today that it's just going to drive up your costs. So what you want to do is remember this important fact. And the reason why you don't want to just send cold traffic to a product page is that 98% of your first-time visitors will not buy from you. So meaning the average conversion rate for all e-commerce stores for first-time traffic is 2%. So if you're spending all this money on Facebook ads and only 2% is converting on average, that's a lot of wasted ad spend. So then the goal with cold traffic isn't to get them to convert immediately. It's to educate them and entertain them. It's very reminiscent of Gary Vaynerchuk wrote a book a few years back called Jab, Jab, Hook, right? And it was all about sort of leading with value before you even ask. And that is, you're building a relationship. I think all marketing now needs that customer journey. That needs a relationship. So the goal of your cold traffic is just to educate them and entertain them, and also to pixel them, meaning you're being able to segment them by the actions that they take, whether the content they've engaged with or the video content that they've watched. But it allows you to sort of bucket them and understand what they're showing interest in, so you can make an appropriate offer to them over time. But that's what you want to do with cold traffic. So the goals are with it, building your audience, building authority, developing that trust and relationship, and then using your pixel to segment down and lay that foundation to make the ask. Also, you want to think like an information marketer. So oftentimes, if you're in e-commerce, your goal is you're kind of consumed with the front end, selling, selling your product, and it's just that front end, top of the funnel sale that you're trying to make. But don't obsess over that the front end sale. Leverage your digital content to get a lead, get an email opt in. That's good as well. So I mean, if you need to, if they're not buying, remember to come up with some digital content strategies that allow, maybe it's KDP, maybe it's some KDP stuff that you're working on, but there is digital content that'll be a lot less expensive for you. You can move it like maybe $3 or $4. It'll be cheaper to get them in as a lead and as a buyer of a low end sort of front end offer, as opposed to your main, maybe it's a print on demand offer that's 30 or $40. And so think like an information marketer, get them in the front door. Don't skip that part. So classically, this is what we talked about. Front end, Facebook website conversion ad. If you're not familiar with that, it's the type of Facebook ad type that's sort of optimizing for a conversion, in this case a purchase, and you just drive it directly to your product page. This is the old way, the inefficient way. So now, really what we've talked about is a little bit more nuanced, but in essence what you're doing is you're no longer driving cold traffic directly to your product page. It's only warm traffic that you're paying for to land on that product page. Maybe we talked about cold, warm, and hot traffic. Warm traffic, they're a little bit more familiar with you, and you're a little bit more familiar with them. So maybe now, instead of just that one ad going to your product page, you're running some Facebook ads that are going to a popular blog post. And it may not even be your blog post. Maybe you're using other people's third-party content. As long as you're citing it appropriately and not claiming it to be yours, that's perfectly okay. Maybe you're using a video view using Lumen 5 and connecting to that blog post. But then what happens is that you're using what's called a custom audience, and this is where that pixeling process comes in. And anyone who's viewed this blog post content on the far left, and within 7 days, they get to see an ad that will take them either to a page that'll be like a lead magnet, something that's a low end offer, or something they can get for free that will get them to opt in with their email, or you take them to a product page with this ad here in the middle, number 3. And then if they don't, what they see this video view, and if they've seen the video, then maybe if they've watched more than 25% of the video, then you send them this website conversion ad process. So it's like there are multiple steps in here that you can kind of get to, but the goal is you're getting them pixeled, so you know that they've either visited a blog post within 7 days, or they viewed a certain amount of content of video, and now you make an offer, and maybe that offer is a lead magnet or to the product page. But then even if they landed on this lead magnet page, maybe then what you're doing is, if they've been to this page within 7 days and they become a lead, then you make another offer, and that is the actual main product that you want to sell them. And if they don't become a lead and they don't opt into your email, then you can use retargeting to visit, sending them back to the lead magnet page. So it's more nuanced, and you're like, wow, this seems super complicated. Here's the beautiful thing, is that you start to do these things. When we're talking about traffic stacking, there's also the concept of campaign stacking. So you're building these out little bit by little bit, getting more sophisticated and nuanced with your advertising. And this is just the way that you can do that. But it's more effective. If you want to scale your Facebook ads, this is how you have to do it. So we talked about how that stop selling to cold traffic and wasting money. How do you supercharge your profitability? So most marketers, again, they focus on that cold traffic. It's the top of the funnel. Like, let's climb this mountain. We're fighting over our costs. The CPM costs and the cost per click, which is another term. How much it costs you to get a click on your ad, and everyone's sort of like obsessed with this. But what you have to keep in mind is that while everyone's obsessed here, really isn't a mountain, it's an iceberg. And really the bulk of the money that you're going to be making and the profitability of it is by focusing on what's not seen. And that is the people that have already bought from you, or the people that have already engaged with you, is where you should spend more of your time and energy focused on. It's 5 times easier to sell to an existing customer than it is to acquire a new one. And so this is really the secret of adding profitability to any of your campaigns. So how do you supercharge profitability with advertising? I alluded to it a little bit, and it's retargeting. So you want to be focused on pre-purchase retargeting and post-purchase retargeting. And if you're not familiar with retargeting, it means basically that there's a pixel that puts some piece of code in a browser, so people go to your website, And you build out these audiences in your Facebook business account, and it allows you to say if someone's been to a product page, then that gets tracked specifically. If they added to cart, that gets tracked specifically. If they bought from you, if they purchased from you, that gets tracked specifically to its own little unique little container bucket where you can then choose to run ads to that particular group of people. And so there's 3 campaigns that you want to be running for retargeting to maximize your profitability. One is you want to do a view content retargeting, and in that case, it's going to be like your product page. Typically, if you're like in Shopify and you just plug in your Facebook pixel in the back end of your Shopify store, view content means that it's a product page that they've looked at. Add to cart retargeting. This is where you have your cart abandonment campaigns. You've seen email. Well, they'll send an abandoned cart email. This is a campaign specifically to target people who've abandoned in their cart. And then the post-purchase retargeting as well. These are the 3 main campaigns that'll make you money. So how these sort of look is you have your product page, they left without buying or adding to cart, and within that process, or in that you have a custom audience that's done it within 2 days, you then serve up an ad. I like to serve an ad. It's like, here's 5 reasons our product's awesome, or whatever way that's sort of talking about value and why they need it. And then after that, you can see you can also bucket around a different day. So maybe it's like 7 days or 5 days. And they've been on since they've been on your product page, you serve them another ad. And it's a testimonial ad with like a carousel. One of the ad types you can have on Facebook is a carousel. So there's different, you can click and it shows you different pictures, different content. And doing that with testimonials is just really super powerful. And then maybe it's talking about different awards or press or something like that for the third one. But you're building out a sequence that are reminding people. Your goal is to establish authority and trust and credibility. You want to focus on what they need from your product and why they need your product. You want to speak to those problems, the felt need that they're encountering, that they're experiencing without using your product. Use that language out. And then you can also, especially for your testimonial, you can leverage UGC, which is user generated content. So if your product, if you have people that are sending you pictures of wearing your cool t-shirts, or you're working with influencers and they're creating content for you, you can do that and use that content in your ads as well. And you want to get the shoppers to either add the products to the cart or complete the purchase. So that's to the view content retargeting. And then do the add to cart campaign. So you want to start with a simple reminder to bring them back. So maybe they've added your product to the cart, but they didn't buy. So then you follow up with a sequence, a gentle reminder. Maybe you offer free shipping, and then maybe you have your final big offer where it's a bigger 25% off or a coupon. Now, what you want to make sure you do is start with a simple reminder just to bring them back. Because maybe they just got busy and forgot. Maybe they have every intention to buy, but they just got super slammed. And then you want to then tier your discounts from small to the better deal. So you don't want to go immediately from the abandoned cart and then you offer them a 25% discount to come back, because you want to be able to tier that, because if you do, you're going to be giving up too much money right away, right? So just remind them, and then offer maybe free shipping if it's been a few days, and then if it's been like a week or two, then maybe you could then try to incentivize them with a big discount. But you want to make it as easy for them to come back and close that deal. And then the final one, this is one that a lot of people don't really implement at all. And this is a post-purchase campaign, meaning after they've actually bought from you, you can then continue to run ads to them. And why would you want to do that? If you've won the race, you've got them, they're now a member in your email. Well, there's some really specific things you can do with this campaign that produces a lot of revenue potentially for you. One is that you're focusing on building goodwill and brand loyalty. So if you send them a personalized thank you video, awesome, you'll crush it for you. The other thing you can do is you can do upselling and cross-selling using a dynamic product ad, which I'll touch on here in a second. And then depending on how high your traffic is, you can break it out into different segments, first-time, repeat buyers, and different ways like that. But it just really allows you to generate, build loyalty and maximize your profits, and that's the goal of the campaign. The other cool thing is that especially towards the end, like maybe the third ad sequence that you have, is you're asking for a review, you're asking for testimonials, or you're asking for them to generate content for you to show on your site, to show on your social media. So asking for user-generated content and video reviews and testimonials is critical to plug new content into the front end of those cold traffic campaigns that you want to run as well. So when you're running traffic to the cold campaign to try and warm them up, if you're talking about someone else's like a testimonial video about your product or brand, that's a lot more powerful than you just running an ad featuring a product. So really, really important to be able to bake that in to scale. So I mentioned dynamic product ads. They are ads that automatically are generated by Facebook. So if you see here on the right, this one from Primal Life. So what happens is that you can set these up to where if I actually was on the sun moisturizer page, that will be the product that's shown in this ad dynamically. So if they've expressed inventory or expressed interest in your website, Facebook will look at the inventory that you've uploaded to their business account, and they'll create an individual ad for the item that allows you to promote it, and they'll use the image dynamically, and it'll pull it in based on what they've done. So say for example, this little graphic, someone's on your site and they're looking at a certain product, and they're like, oh, she's interested in these shoes. She was on that shoe page. Now I'm going to show her an ad for those shoes and bring her back to that product as well. And it happens automatically. So those are called dynamic product ads because they happen based on the user's interaction with your content. Really, really powerful, really cool. So this is what you used to do. Before maybe this is what your concept of and it's cool if this is where you're at starting and you need to get some stuff tested. Try it here. But eventually, as you start to scale, and what you're going to find out really quickly on Facebook is you can lose a lot of money fast. And it's because this is not the most effective way to run an ad. So you go from this to this, which seems really overwhelming, but honestly, you could actually build something like this out in a good couple months if you're taking your time and really doing it, and you're going to start to see the results. And it's going to make a huge difference in your Facebook advertising to be more nuanced. So think about cold traffic versus warm traffic versus the hot traffic, and implementing those 3 layers of retargeting will add so much more money to your business if you're going to continue to try and scale your Facebook traffic. So with that, I want to say thank you very much. I hope you got some value out of this presentation. We talked about the different scaling principles, the people and the process, what you need to be looking for. We talked about the stacking your S-curves, which are important, understanding what an S-curve is in your business and in your products. And then third, some principles around advertising and marketing, and then some tactical things that you can do in Facebook to improve your profitability. So again, my name is Kyle Hamar. It's been an honor to be with you today, and I hope to connect with you in the future. If you want to reach out, I'm happy to chat with you about any of your advertising at any time. Feel free to, you can email me here. This is my email address, or you can visit us at winningonshopify.com, and there's some free resources on the site as well for you to take advantage of. So again, thank you very much, and I hope you're enjoying the summit, and I look forward to connecting in the future. Bye-bye.
Wow, that was some great information. I hope you took lots of notes. The recording of the session will be up until midnight, but if you want to see the recordings after that, you can get our All Access Pass, which includes the recordings from all of the sessions by clicking the link below. Don't forget to share this link with anybody that's interested in starting their own print-on-demand business.